entire federation. Nobody, you may not be different from Boko Haram or IPOB if you dare to challenge the authority of the Federal Republic of Nigeria that has been expressed from the Supreme Court.
Where do we go from here?
Nigerians continue to wait in bated breath, desperately seeking an intervention to ease off the pains of accessing the new NAIRA note.
This policy was supposed to be a nice policy, but it's the implementation of it that has caused this chaos. We expected the CBN, prior to this time, they should have made availability of the 100 Naira note and the 50 Naira note in mass, so as to cover up for this.
We are begging the federal government to do something. Look at how people don't have access to their money. People are many of them are just looking for transport money. Not because they don't have money. They have more money in their ATM, but they don't have access.
The governor of Niger and Ekiti State have also indicated their intention to join the original suit alongside their Zamfara, Kaduna, and Kogi counterparts in seeking the Supreme Court's full extension of the Naira swap deadline.
Interesting to know that it is not only when laws are written or made by the National Assembly that they actually become law, but whenever another branch of the government, in this case judiciary, has the opportunity to make a pronouncement on a written law or a set of facts, whatever the court says at that time becomes law. And now you see, the idea of order is that there is public order, and it is the responsibility of all the arms of government to ensure order. But whenever the court makes an order, it is for the order, peace, and good governance of Nigeria. So the supremacy of the Supreme Court is not in doubt. Whatever it says, whatever pronouncement it makes, even if it has to do with letters and words, constitute what we call law in Nigeria. So it's very important we exalt the sanctity of the place of the Supreme Court in our legal system.
So
now back to the development.
With the central bank insisting on going ahead with the deadline of February 10th.
That it's unnecessary from the central bank.
Yeah, that's what the CBN says. And that is against what the Supreme Court. What are the implications of this? Really?
Dangerous implications.
The bigger picture.
Dangerous implications. First and foremost, we shouldn't dwell too much in assumptions. You look at the relief that has been sought. Let us not forget, the Supreme Court has not even inquired into the propriety of the case that has been filed.
It's an interim injunction.
Yes, interim, and then now look at how it works. When you approach the court as a lawyer, in this case, AU Mustafa SAN, approaching the court on behalf of the three attorney generals of Kogi, Kaduna, and Zamfara, you couch a certain reliefs. They're called prayers. You present them before the court. All the court needs to do is to adopt them. So it's important to look at the content of the prayer, the relief, which ultimately has become the order of the court. And that is, it is mandating, restraining the federal government through acting through the central bank or any commercial bank or any of the parastatals agencies or extension of the federal government. You must get that clear. So all of this hulabaloo, all of this talk about not applying to the central bank does not hold water. It is the federal government acting through any of its agencies, specifically mentioning the Central Bank of Nigeria and any of the commercial banks that have been registered to operate in Nigeria.
Who should be talking to the Central Bank of Nigeria in this situation?
Let us have this clear understanding. If you understand that there is a constitutional duty of every citizen in Nigeria to obey the laws and to obey all the authorities and powers that are contained in the Constitution, it needs no further adumbration for anybody who is concerned with an order of court to immediately, in the interest of the federation, in the interest of the polity, in the interest of the ultimate good of the society, to immediately obey. So there is no question about that. There cannot be a debate about obeying an order of court. It doesn't have to be the order of the Supreme Court alone. Any order of court for that matter, obey it first before you make any complaint. That is how a legal system is sustained. That is how you have order in the society. You don't pick and choose.
This order from the Supreme Court, was it to the federal government or the federation?
this is how it works.
Right.
We have a personality created by Section 150 of the Constitution called the Attorney General of the Federation, who is referred to as the Chief Law Officer. That is, he acts on behalf of the entire Federation. He is a repository of what is legal, what is correct, and what is compliant to the Constitution.
To the Federation.
Excuse me.
No, hold on. So it's clear, to us and most importantly to our viewers. Is the Attorney General of the Federation answerable as the Attorney General to the federal government or the Federation?
Look,
the Supreme Court judge ruling,
ruling,
is it directed at the Federation or the federal government? We need to get that clear.
Let us not play unnecessarily with the semantics.
Okay.
The idea is that look at the parties, the attorneys generals of those states versus the Attorney General of the Federation, who is the Chief Law Officer of the Federation, and also a minister of government, who in that case he represents the federal government together with the interest of the Federation. Now it's clear when he's taken to court, and then the issues, and very clear, because the original jurisdiction of the Supreme Court being invoked on the grounds that the federating units are going to court with the Federation itself, represented by the Attorney General of the Federation. Now, what I have emphasized in earlier is that the relief, the order of the court is that binding the federal government of Nigeria together with the CBN, together with commercial banks, every parastatal ministry or agency of the federal government. There cannot be any question or doubt as to who is affected by that order of the Supreme Court.
But when you look at the intervention of the Central Bank of Nigeria, and even what the governor today has been saying to the diplomatic community, is that the extension is one unnecessary, and that, the whole situation is
being under control.
Yeah.
It's, calming down.
He is a governor of the Central Bank of Nigeria. He has his briefings. He has made up his mind. He has facts that he believes. He has facts that he has not advanced his mind to. However, you see, nobody, no authority, no person can challenge the authority of the the Federal Republic of Nigeria. That is expressed through the Supreme Court. Nobody should ever try it, because the consequences of the alternative can be very grave. That's why everybody that is occupying in any public office must make it a point of duty to first and foremost, uphold his oath of allegiance to Nigeria and to comply with the provisions of the Constitution. In this case, we are talking about the Supreme Court acting now, exercising the authority of the entire federation. Nobody, you may not be different from Boko Haram or IPOB if you dare to challenge the authority of the Federal Republic of Nigeria that has been expressed from the Supreme Court. And now, it is very important, very important that it is not a matter of opinion, whether you like it or not. It doesn't matter whether the order or the pronouncements or the declarations of the Supreme Court appear to be stupid. You have to obey them, because we are talking about order and good governance and stability of Nigeria here.
Because the Supreme Court is the final arbiter in all
what precedent
matters.
is being set here?
There shouldn't be any precedent.
At all.
Let me tell you, there are several times the Supreme Court has delivered judgments that have been very offensive. I recall one, the onshore-offshore dichotomy that offended the people of the Niger Delta to the marrow. But you don't go and then denigrate and tear down the system and say the Supreme Court is worthless and that it's giving worthless orders and that it doesn't understand, and then you pick out and call out the judges. You don't do that. In that situation, I remember the governors of the Niger Delta approached the president at that time to say, look, whatever the Supreme Court has done now is law. But a state like Akwa Ibom State will suffer too much from earning oil resources, oil revenues, to now going to having zero. But President Olusegun Obasanjo sent a bill to the National Assembly. You don't destroy the system simply because you are driving a particular policy, however good it is. We must have a foundation, and the foundation is the Federal Republic of Nigeria, to which all authorities and persons must draw legitimacy from the provisions of the Constitution.
Right.
And the Constitution places the superior powers on adjudication on any matter whatsoever on the Supreme Court. It has declared, and so be it.
So what kind of legacy should we be drawing from here when the Central Bank of Nigeria is not being a party to this suit?
It does not matter. What matters is what the court has pronounced. Federal government to get acting through the CBN or any commercial bank or any of its parastatals, ministries, agencies, or servants. But let's get it clear. That is the order pronouncing from the most superior court, the highest court of the land. You don't need to question it. The Honorable Attorney General of the Federation does not even need to give an allegiance that he will obey. It's automatic.
Frank Tete, where lies the independence
of the Central Bank of Nigeria?
The Central Bank is a creation of the National Assembly. It is far inferior to the 3 branches of government that constitute government in itself. So when the judiciary, in this case, Section 6 of the Constitution, empowers it to make a pronouncement and gives it finality in this declaration, it is not telling the Supreme Court. And let me tell you this, and this is something that has been argued among lawyers, and it's becoming very clear that law, according to Justice Oliver Wendell Holmes, and I quote, the prophecies of what the court will do, and in fact pretentiously nothing, are what I mean by law. So when the court, whatever the court say is law, that is what is law. So it doesn't matter whether you claim independence, whatever it is, if the Supreme Court says, this is what I believe, unfortunately you may not like it, that is the way it should be. That is how we will make progress as a society, together having stability, and then we can avoid all this kind of pick and choose, creating this kind of confusion and threatening our democracy.
Frank Tete, no better place to drop the anchor. Tomorrow is still here at the Supreme Court. We're going to hear what they'll be saying. Frank Tete, Arise analyst and a lawyer.